Balance changes. Public test 12.0. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We're applying balance changes to the following ships based on the analysis of both their combat statistics as well as player feedback. Okay, combat statistics as well as player feedback. Japanese Tier 7 cruisers, Marlborough, Renown, Buffalo, Dalian, Seong, and Ragnar. Interesting. Marlborough. Restoration of hit points after receiving damage to parts of the hull increased from 50 to 60%. I mean, isn't Marlborough's issue that the guns are trash? More than anything? I doubt this is gonna change much. Like, you can heal... What this means is, you can heal a larger percent of the damage you're taking, but this will only become relevant when you have already burned through 1 or 2 heals, basically. So, once again, this isn't really... that. It's a late game, it's a good buff, but it's not that big of a deal. Renown buff. I mean, it's weaker than Repulse, so I guess are they trying to catch up to the Repulse in it? Buffalo buff. That's nice. Buffalo is kind of cringe. It's been pretty awkward. Like when you compare it to the Baltimore, and you compare it to the DM, the Buffalo's always been kind of the odd duck in between. The buff is very, very minimal, but still, a buff is a buff. Dalian. Main battery reload reduced from 5.5 to 5.2. Extremely minimal buff, but better than nothing, I guess. Seong, also a minimal buff. Buffalo's okay. Yeah, I mean, Buffalo is one of those, it depends, heavily map dependent. If you get a big open map, Buffalo sucks. If you get to use islands, Buffalo's okay. But, like, you queue up Buffalo and you get shit like Okinawa or Mountain Range, and if you don't get to park somewhere behind the islands, you're just suffering the entire game. Bug fixes. Omono, Tokachi, Mayoko, Ashigara, Eastern Dragon, all tier 7s. Number of discharge airstrike available flights increased from 1 to 2. Okay. A small buff. Maya, discharge airstrike maximum range increased from 5 to 7. I think that's pretty good. But I'm surprised it was 5 to begin with. Wait, if it's 7 now, does that mean Maya has longer ASW range than Ohio? Isn't Ohio 6? I think it has better ASW range than Ohio now. And then this thing. Ragnar. Damage by medium range AA guns reduced from 673... Yeah, John Bart is 5. 673 to 669. This is such an incredible change. Like, this is... like... both of their combat statistics as well as player feedback. So the issue wasn't another radaring destroyer farming us from range or shitting on our destroyers. No, the issue was apparently that the continuous AA DPS was 4 points too high. This is like... I made a tweet about this change because I wasn't streaming yesterday. And I mean, it's pretty accurate, I say. My job here is done, but you didn't do anything. Basically. And I mean... they have done nothing. It's a completely pointless change. It's a completely pointless change. And the strangest thing is that they're nerfing AA, which is something Wargaming shouldn't ever be touching right now. You shouldn't touch AA. It's already a shit show. You can't go nerfing it further. What is wrong with you? Not only is it a dumb, pointless change, it's also a change in the wrong direction. So this is inherently stupid. This entire change is inherently stupid. The new number is nice, sir, though. True, nice, nice. And then we have... this is pretty interesting. They are changing the Pan-American cruisers. They're changing the Pan-American cruisers. I actually want to see what they started out with. I'm gonna start with this. Wait, this was the original. This is the original. This was like what, 3 weeks ago? This was the original iteration. What they wanted them to be. They wanted them to be good rate of fire, but weak armor and small supply of HP. A repair party that restores 50% of damage taken to the citadel. Hydro, torpedoes, fighter. Option to replace fighter with spotter. Flat ballistics to make it easier to hit enemies at long distances. Thank you, Castor Talagi. Hydro or defensive AA. Combat instructions, similar to super ships. And a heal at tier 7, something which a lot of other people wanted. And what was the combat instruction requirement? Was firing off certain salvos where you needed to hit the target to pull it off. So this was the original. This was the original iteration, the original idea behind these ships. So let's see what they're going for now. Based on the testing results and your feedback, oh boy, we are changing the concept of Pan-American cruisers. Yo, whenever they start with this, and I know for a fact that pretty much guaranteed none of those things actually played any role. It's always questionable to me. It's always questionable. Like, nothing worked, or it was stupid. Like, you guys got to remember, wargaming lately, when it comes to implementing new ships, they have been like blindfolded throwing darts at a board, hoping for the best. And oftentimes, it's been a complete shit show. And sometimes a complete shit show all the way till release. An example of a shit show that they never recovered from was the Dutch cruisers. Initially, the airstrikes were basically one-shotting machines. And then they nerfed the airstrikes. But then they had no idea what to do to the rest of the ships. So they were like, oh, whatever. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And they just released the Dutch cruisers as they were. And they ended up like this weird, supposedly tanky cruiser that burns for 60 seconds. That doesn't really have the best gun performance, but then the airstrikes are, they ended up so and then another example was the Elbing, the German cruiser, the German destroyer leader line. Those things were a complete shit show until they miraculously made them fun just before they were released. I don't think guys remember just how bad the original Elbing was. Like, Elbing had, to begin with, it had no smoke. It had hydro and defensive AA. It had 6km hydro, but it had no smoke, and Wargaming were expecting you to sail around in the open with your 36-knot massive ship without a heel and open water gunboat against other ships. That was their concept of the Elbing early on. And they threw a lot of shit at the wall and nothing stuck until eventually they realized, like, just give it Hindenburg guns and park it in a smoke, and that kind of works. That's fine. But like, they used to have 65-knot torpedoes as well. Like, the Elbing we had during testing was so different than the Elbing that was actually released. So they've been a lot of like them panic fixing it just before release, and that's the vibe I'm getting from these Pan American cruisers. They had this concept made by someone who probably doesn't play the game, and now they put it in the hands of people who might actually play the game, and they were like, what the fuck did we just do? Like, holy shit. Okay, how do we unfuck the problem we have created? And this is what it's looking like. Based on the testing results and your feedback, we're changing the concept of Pan American cruisers. AKA, oh shit, we need to fix this fast. The goal of developing this branch was to create gameplay where combat instructions would play an important role, because that's what the player base really wanted. Based on the results of testing, it turned out that the initial concept did not meet this expectation. The following changes are being made to the branch. HE shells are removed. Ships will be armed with only AP shells with improved ricochet angles. Wait, are they stealing Minotaur's whole thing? Combat instructions are changed. The progress bar is filled with any main battery hits. Wait, people had issues landing accurate salvos? People couldn't land accurate salvos. So now they just make it any hit anywhere just fills it up. Oh shit, really? Bonus of combat instructions. Significant reductions of consumables reload time. Okay. What the fuck? Okay, this is getting real weird. Starting with tier 6, the reload time of all consumables except spotter aircraft is 180 seconds, while the spotter is 240 seconds. The default number of all consumables is 4. The ships also have a regular damage control party with unlimited charges. But you get a 3-minute cooldown, and the only way you can lower this is by activating bonus of combat instructions. So, wait, this makes this ship the premium choice for a carrier to dumpster, because he starts with a 3-minute cooldown on his heal, and if you start dumpstering him with a carrier in spawn, before he even gets in range to shoot anything, you can kill him before he gets a single heal off. This looks like a really good design. I foresee no issues whatsoever. This is like the perfect target for a carrier to score an easy early kill. Your planes go in and spot it. People see, hey, that's the thing that can't do anything unless it shoots us. And everyone just focuses it and blows it out of the fucking water. And this guy is sitting there trying to get in range to use his guns. Because if he doesn't get in range, he's got 3-minute cooldown on all his consumables. Have they, like, even entertained this idea? I feel like whenever Wargaming designs a class, they never take into their planning concept, but what if the carrier just shits on this thing? Because that's kind of what I'm worried about there. Now the defensive AA fire consumables have an available choice starting with tier 7 and the spotter aircraft from tier 8. An available choice. Wait, so you replace Hydro with this, I assume. An available choice. So they create a huge problem that carriers might kill you, and they let you replace your Hydra, which is normally useful, with defensive AA to help mitigate. Conspiracy, thank you for 21. OCG Spud, thank you for the sub. Okay. Surveillance radar consumable was added to tier 8 to 10 ships. Detection of ships 9 km, action time 25. This is like literally just Minotaur, but kind of seems worse. Specialized repair teams at tier 6 and above ships now restore 80% of the damage taken in any part of the ship. Any part of the ship. And repair party of tier 2 to 5 restores 50. Holy shit. So the heal is going to be highly efficient. But it's going to have a massive cooldown unless you get to shoot things. Once again, tier 6 super heal. I don't think they have any idea what they're doing. I don't think they have any idea what they're doing. Did the game really need more radar though? Apparently. Like the problem is once again submarines. DDs haven't really been a problem for a while because of all the radar in the game. The problem has been that you can't really spot subs in any way. This preferred combat range is medium, and thanks to the surveillance radar and benefits of the repair party, the ships will be effective in engagements over key areas as well as those in open water. The updated combat instructions encourage aggressive gameplay, rewarding constant firing and allowing you to use the ship's consumables more often. But you have subs and CVs that both discourage aggressive gameplay, but you make the ship dependent on aggressive gameplay to succeed. What? Wait. Wait. Encourage open water gameplay. Okay. San Martin. How did San Martin... What was San Martin's like stats? That was Illinois. San Martin, let's see. Okay, San Martin, open water. Oh, it had the vehicle speed. Wait, they changed this. They removed this entire thing. I think the combat instructions were completely scrapped. It used to have HE shell penetration and vehicle speed. Did they change that now entirely? Oh, bonus. So the bonus of combat. Does it mean they change? Yeah, they removed the entire. So this is all it does now. Reduces reload. So we lose the 10% speed. And this thing, 34 knots. 34 knots. 11.4 second rudder. 25mm plating. No speed boost. And you're supposed to be effective in open water. You're a 34 knot cruiser that can be overmatched. And isn't this thing like really huge as well? It is. It's like a big booster. What? How's that supposed to work? This is... You know what I'm getting vibes of? I'm getting vibes of the original Devblog Elbing announcement, where they wanted the Elbing to be an open water gunboat. Jesus. I wonder if they're gonna have to slap a smoke on this thing like they slapped one on the Elbing. I wonder if they're gonna have to slap a smoke on it. I struggle, like... If you want to open water, I mean, it's supposed to have the flat arcs. It's supposed to have flatter arcs than the normal booster. So I guess you're going to struggle to even park behind islands because you can't shoot over them. So you're going to have to open water. That's what they want you to do. They want you to open water. But they gave it, it's 34 knots without speed boost. Sheesh. What is it going to do against BBs? Farm, I think? Hopefully farm. Did it have torps? Oh yeah, they gave it torps. 10.5 cam torps. So they want you to open water, torpedo, and farm. 11.4 rudder though. Jesus. 11.4 rudder. Holy fuck. 11.4 rudder. Isn't that like pretty brutal for a cruiser? Is it Goliath has like 12.5. I think Hinden had 12.1. Henry, these are all heavy cruisers. That's Lighthouse. Venezia has like really good 13.6. I have good turning circle. These are all heavy cruisers though. If you compare it to a light cruiser, yeah, 8.1 on the Wooster. For a light cruiser, that seems really fucking brutal. What about Nevsky? 11.5. Wait, it has the same rudder as a Nevsky. But it's no way it's gonna have the Nevsky armor. Or the Nevs... Oh. I don't know, this seems... What's Minotaur rudder? 8.3. 8.3 on Minnow. 8.1 on Wooster, and that thing is 11.4. Like, it's much closer to a heavy cruiser rudder than a light cruiser rudder. That seems tough. I guess they're hoping with the super heal to, like, keep it alive. What I'm gonna be really worried with that thing is just being focused at the start by a carrier. That seems so brutal for that thing, because if you got 3-minute cooldowns until you get to use your guns. Super is useless when you get Devstroke, right? I don't know, man. That seems really sketch. That seems really sketch. I'm getting big Elbing vibes. I wonder if they're gonna just slap a smoke on it at the end to save it like they did for Elbing. They might have to. Yeah, it's gonna be new ship syndrome to focus fire at. But more than that, more than just new ship syndrome, I mean, there's a good reason to focus this thing at the start. It's extra vulnerable at the start. Like, you benefit from focusing that thing at the start. Sheesh. Gonna be interesting for sure. Overmatching BBs are gonna eat good. I mean, it's got 25mm armor. Every ship overmatches it. Every battleship.